Hello everyone. You came to me looking for comedy today. I just want to let you know that today's video is going to be a little bit different than most of my videos. I do want to address something that I say every once in a while, and it ignites fury and rage across demographics of Black people. And when I say Black, I mean Black people from anywhere in the world. Also, I normally write out notes before I record any videos so that I have an idea of where I want to go with my topics, but I really just felt the need to get this done quickly, so I don't have notes today. I apologize if I go off on tangents. I would like to talk a little bit today about the concept of Black people in America appropriating African culture. Is it even appropriation, first of all? And if it is appropriation, is it okay? For the purposes of this conversation, Black American is going to be what I use to refer to Black people in America who have some sort of ancestry of slavery. And African will refer to people born and raised in Africa. I might use the term African American or first generation American to mean people that are somewhat in between. So maybe born in Africa but mostly raised in the US, or first generation people who, like myself, were born to African parents but raised in America. I put up a Facebook status that said something along the lines of, I just want Black people in America to know that you cannot be mad if an African person calls you out for appropriating their culture. The main argument that I always get back with that is Black people in America are African. I never said anything about Black people not being African. Obviously, Black people are African. My argument was about culture. Your culture is American. My culture is American. I grew up here. I think that I have the fortune of having two cultures, which is a distinctly first generation thing, but I grew up in an African household in an American society. When I hear my African friends or family members saying something like, "Why are you wearing that? That's not for you," I understand it. As a first generation person, you are constantly caught in between the two worlds, and there's this misidentification that happens no matter where you are. The family parties that we had always had African music. Our Sunday night dinners were like chapati and ndengu and sukuma wiki and things like that. I looked around my house as a kid and all of our decorations were from Kenya. It was just normal to me. Like, I didn't realize for the longest time that other people didn't have this in their homes. I always felt like I was surrounded by it. If I'm around my straight up African family, like when we go home to Kenya for whatever reasons, I'm not African enough. Just the way that I was born and raised and the way that I act, I am definitely American. Even to this day, I have interactions with Black people who say that I'm not Black enough because I didn't grow up with the Black culture. So what do you want me to be? Because people like me are caught in the middle and forever trying to claim both sides and forever trying to really be the embodiment of bridging that gap. I am the bridging of that gap. I am literally a person who's grown up as a Black person in America and also have the fortune of having this African culture that I grew up with in my household. Like, I am the embodiment of both of those two things coming together. So nothing that I say is about us trying to separate and take one another apart, or Africans tearing Blacks down, or anything like that. There's nothing in my speech or whatever that's trying to tell Black people that you're not worthy of African culture. That has never been my point. And I think that the people that continue to fight me on that point are completely missing what I'm trying to say. I think that more Black people should be able to learn about Africa. They should be able to learn where they're from. Honestly, it should be fucking free if you're an American Black person to get your DNA test and to learn where the fuck you're coming from. Because the shit that Black people in America have had to endure over the last several hundred years is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not against that person deciding that they want to listen to WizKid. I'm not against that person deciding that they want to buy some, African fabric and have a dress made from it. I'm not against that. But I think that there's a certain amount of responsibility that we have to honor those cultures instead of appropriating. There is a difference between honoring somebody else's culture and recognizing that it's a part of your heritage too, versus claiming that you can represent that culture because it's a part of your ancestry. If something you're doing has a deep meaning for another person and you're just doing it because it looks cool, that is a problem for me. I don't think that you need to be an African scholar in order to wear a dashiki or some shit like that. But I think you should understand if you're mixing culture or if you are doing something that another person might see as inappropriate in some way, shape, or form. You were stolen from a place, you were robbed of your culture, you were stripped of it entirely, and it's a fucking mess. The transatlantic slave trade ruined a lot of things for a lot of people and still has to this day affected how Black people are able to operate in their own skin. The main thing that I'm saying is you can't be mad. You can have whatever opinions you want to have, you can have whatever feelings you want to have, you can embrace as many cultures as you want to have, but you can't be mad if somebody else says to you, that's not your culture, I don't appreciate you doing X, Y, or Z. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, there is an elitist mentality amongst some African people. You saw it in the Black Panther movie. Some African people do not like mixing with Black Americans. Some African parents do not want their kids marrying a Black American. Sometimes they don't even want to fuck with West Indian people. Like, is that serious? But you, as a person who was robbed of your culture and who lives in a country that regularly tries to appropriate your culture and pass it off as their own, you should understand where these Africans are coming from when they say, you're wearing dots on your face, but you don't know what those dots actually mean in the tribe that does it. There are tribes and cultures within these regions that are still fighting with one another because they were lumped together by white Europeans who knew nothing about them and just decided that they wanted a significant amount of land. As Black American people, there is a certain recognition of the amount of trauma that colonization caused on Africans as well that rarely gets addressed. We still have so many civil wars and infighting going on in Africa right now because the borders were drawn for us. My grandpa helped British people draw the borders of Kenya. I have parents who were born to a British colony. While Blacks in America were fighting for civil rights, Blacks in Africa were fighting for independence. So if you're just walking around with something because it's fashionable and trendy and it's something that has a deep meaning to somebody else, it's understandable that it can get offensive. I guess what I'm saying is that, if anything, I want more Black people to embrace African culture, but I want it to be more than a costume. You don't have to take a trip to Africa to be embracing the culture. You don't have to do a DNA test and trace back what region of Africa you're from. What I do need you to realize though is that you can't just be doing shit because it's cute, because it's trendy or whatever, and then if somebody calls you out on it, act offended. It is somebody else's culture that you're using. In my opinion, we should have that leeway. We should have that ability to embrace everything that Africa has to offer, but we should also be respectful of those people who still to this day get judged for that culture, and as recently as the 1950s or 60s were not a country themselves. It feels really awkward after that conversation to now tell you to subscribe and comment and all that kind of stuff. But that is what I'm here for. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to my page. Click the bell icon and comment below. I really want to hear what other people have to say. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully I'll see you guys again very soon. Maybe in Africa. Who knows? Bye.